We are going to go over the Topic 8 Basic Skills Test. So for question 1, it says solve the equation z plus 1.5 equals 3.8. So whenever we're solving, our goal is to isolate the variable, to get the variable by itself. So the first thing that I need to do is get rid of addition. And I undo addition by subtracting. Those are inverse operations. So I draw my line through the equal sign, take away 1.5 from both sides, and I find that z equals 3.8 minus 1.5, 2.3. Now to double check my work, I want to plug back in 2.3 for z. So I take 2.3 plus 1.5, and 2.3 plus 1.5 does equal 3.8, so I know that I got the right answer. So my answer is z equals 2.3. For question number 2, we see a similar one-step equation. It says solve the equation 5.5x equals 22. So again, I want to isolate the variable, get it by itself so I know what it equals. To undo multiplication, I need to divide, so I divide both sides by 5.5. I have to do that to both sides because I want to keep both sides equal. When I divide the left side by 5.5, those cancel out to leave me with just x. 22 divided by 5.5 gives me 4, so I get the answer x equals 4. Now I want to go back and double check my work, so I'm going to replace x with 4 and make sure that both sides are equal. 5.5 times 4 does give me 22, so I know I got the right answer. For number 3, I'm finding 3 equations that have the same solution. So my first example is y divided by 1.75 equals x. Now to undo division, my rule is that I have to multiply both sides by 1.75. So I'm going to draw a line down the equal sign. I'm going to multiply both sides by 1.75, and that cancels out the 1.75 on the left side. 4 times 1.75 gives me 7, so that means that y equals 7. Now we're going to skip the checking your work step on this one just to save you some time. The next equation is y plus 3 equals 4. So I draw a line down my equal sign. I want to get y by itself, so I have to undo addition. The opposite of addition is subtraction. So I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides, and that gives me y equals 4 minus 3, 1. So far I got 7 and 1, so nothing that's the same quite yet. The next one, I have 22 plus y equals 29. I draw a line through the equal sign. I see that I'm adding a positive 22 onto y, so if I want to get rid of 22, I'm going to have to subtract 22 from both sides. When I do that, I'm just left with y. On the right side, 29 minus 22 gives me 7, and I get y equals 7. So far I see that the first example and then the third have the same answer. And then the very last one, we can guess that this is going to be our third equation, but we should probably just double check to make sure we don't make any mistakes. So I have 5y equals 35. To undo multiplication, which is what I have right here when I have a coefficient, a number before the variable, I have to divide. So I undo multiplication by dividing. 5y divided by 5, that leaves me with just y. 35 divided by 5, that gives me 7. And I see that I have a third equation with the solution 7. So those are my 3 equations that have the same solution. Number 4 is a word problem, and we're just trying to set up an equation. It says, last night, 4 friends went out to dinner at a restaurant. They split the bill evenly. So we know that they split it among 4 friends. Each friend paid $12.75. If B represents the total bill in dollars, what equation could you use to find the value of B? So right now we know that we're splitting B among 4 friends, the bill among 4 friends. So that means we're dividing B by 4. And we know that when we divide b by 4, it's going to give us $12.75 because we know each person paid $12.75. So that means that my equation is going to be this very last one. The bill, b divided by 4, equals $12.75 because we split the bill among 4 friends. Number 5 reads, which answer shows the solution or shows the equation 6x minus 18 equals 17 in words. Now what we know is that we're multiplying x by 7 and then we're taking away 18. The first one says 7 less than 18 times a number is 17. That would mean that we're taking away 7, which is not the case. We are not taking away 7, so this is not going to be the answer. Now the next one says 18 less, so that means we're taking away 18 from 7 times a number is equals 17. And this one actually does work because we're taking away 18 from 7 times an unknown number and it equals 17. So this one does work, but let's check the other ones and see why they don't work. The next one reads 18 more than 7 times a number is 17. That would mean that we are adding 18 to 7 times a number, but because I see a subtraction sign there, I know that that doesn't work. The last one says 7 more than 18 times a number. That would mean that I'm adding 7 to 18 times a number. But I'm not adding. I don't have 7 after the variable, and I'm not multiplying 18 by the variable, so I know that that also is not correct. So the answer has to be 18 less than 7 times a number. Our next example is the first thing that we've seen with the two-step equation. Now when we have two-step equations, we always get rid of addition or subtraction first and multiplication or division second. So I'm going to start by rewriting my equation. 6x plus 16 equals 58, and I'm going to draw a line down my equal sign. And I know that I have to undo my addition first before multiplication because it's the opposite of order of operations since we're getting rid of things. To undo addition, I do the inverse operation, so I subtract 16 from both sides. That's going to give me 6x equals 58 minus 16, which is 42. And then now I have a one-step equation. I have 6 times x equals 42. To undo multiplication and get x by itself, I have to divide, and that's going to give me x equals 7. So my answer is x equals 7. Now when I double check my work, I replace my variable with 7 because I got x equals 7. First I take 6 times 7, which gives me 42. So I'm simplifying the left side. 42 plus 16 does give me 58, and 58 equals 58. So I know I got the right answer. Number 7 is a similar type of two-step equation, but this time we're getting rid of subtraction instead of addition. So first step, I always want to get rid of addition or subtraction first. So I'm going to undo subtraction by adding 14 to both sides. That leaves me with just negative 15x on the left side because I haven't done anything with that yet. Negative 89 plus 14 gives me negative 75, and then I still need to get x by itself by getting rid of this negative 15. Remember that this is negative 15 times x, so to get rid of multiplication, I have to divide both sides by negative 15, and that's going to give me x equals 5. Now to double check my work, I plug 5 back in for x, so I take negative 15 times 5 minus 14, and I'm going to see if it's equal to negative 89. So when I simplify, I'm going to start by multiplying first. Negative 15 times 5 gives me negative 75. And then negative 75 minus 14, think of that like keep at opposite. Same signs, I add and keep the sign. That gives me negative 89. And because negative 89 equals negative 89, I know that my answer is going to be x equals 5. Okay, now the next problem, they're just asking us what our first step is. So it says, what is the first step when solving 4x minus 12 equals 16? And just like we talked about on the last two problems, we have to get rid of addition or subtraction first before we get rid of multiplication or division, because we're doing the opposite of order of operations. So in this case, I need to get rid of subtraction first, and I get rid of subtraction by adding 12 to both sides. So my answer is that I'm going to add 12 to both sides. The next problem, we're solving another two-step equation. So we have 2x minus 8 equals 12. I draw a line down my equal sign. To undo subtraction, which is what I start with, I add 8 to both sides, and that's going to give me 2x equals 20. Now I want to get x by itself, and I get x by itself by getting rid of this 2. Remember, this is 2 times x, so I get rid of it by dividing. 20 divided by 2 gives me 10, so I get x equals 10 as my answer. And then when I double check my work, I take 2 times 10 minus 8, and I want to make sure that it does equal 12. 2 times 10 gives me 20. So now I have 20 minus 8, and 20 minus 8 does give me 12, so I know that I got my answer correct. And the very last question, they're just asking us what our first step could be. Now this is a multi-step equation, and when we have a multi-step equation, we want to simplify everything that we can first before we solve. So this equation, it says, in the equation, -5 times 3x plus 2 equals 12. What could be the first step? I want to simplify my left side of the expression, and I simplify that by distributing the -5 to both terms. And so our first step is not that we subtract 2, because we can't get rid of that. That's in parentheses. I can't divide both sides by 3 because I still have to simplify the left side first. I don't want to add 12 because that's already by itself. So my answer is going to be that I distribute -5 times 3x plus 2 because, like I said, we want to simplify first before we solve our equation.